Hello everyone, Kurt over here, and welcome back to another episode from Holefitter Labs. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about a double feature here, and we're going to be talking about a cover that is not the typical one-hand out cover of that you see within the very first portion of First Master Dagger. And to be honest with you, I think it's assumed, this is actually the play that made me think that it's assumed that you are going off that first cover, that we're using that thing first here to make that kind of covering action. And it comes down to the reinforced grip of Tutta Porta di Ferro doubled. And we're talking about the right over the left and what may be happening in that, and also some situations on that. So I'm going to be going in depth with this right here, and especially because Connor is, once again, as I said before, he is younger, he is stronger, and his reach is longer than I can go for. And his step, he takes one step, and I took like four. You know, it's ridiculous. He's very, and that right there also emphasizes technique, discipline, and why you may have to do certain things, right? But again, we're going to be talking about that covering right here, and why we go to this right here, why we may be doing this right here, what I think it is and why I don't think that it is, etc. And then also how we counter this, and some pretty brutal observations about what countering it actually means to do. So with that being the case, let's get into it.
Okay, so this week we're doing a double feature, like I said in the introduction. And we really want to focus on one of Fiore's grappling wrist positions right here. So a lot of time here we talk about coming up to this position for using posta longa, using dentation guard to create some kind of counter action. We're going to be talking about Fiore's Tutta Porta di Ferro doubled, which is essentially right over left. And we know that for Fiore's manuscript, all of his stuff is it's right over left when it comes down to the grips of Dagger. He also says this is the only time that you don't actually grab a dagger. Now, does this mean that this is not something that maybe like I pull a dagger here and I'm working with the left hand? I don't know. I don't have the answer for that. If he's saying that this right here is his only grip right here that I can't use a dagger, then that tells me there's probably some type of consideration. Again, in the Marine Corps, they have this thing like you train like you fight. If I've been trained to fight like this over and over and over again and make these type of actions right here, well, that seems fine until the one time that I do something like put my hand right here and I actually stab myself in the leg with my own dagger. The mind, we do not rise in the occasions. We fall to our training. And I think that's what Fiore's commentary on what this position is, the doubled, Tutta Porta di Ferro doubled, is really about. Yes, I know, no, we can grab anywhere else. But again, will you do that when the moment's clear? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not here to argue that. But we're going to talk about utilizing this right here and what this may or may not be in context to what Fiore is showing in the manuscript, and also why we might, again, be utilizing this. And there's quite a few things about this. Again, so you got Connor here. He's younger, taller, longer, stronger. Challenging young man to contend against when it comes on adversary, dagger, or anything armor-wise. So again, me being an older guy, part of the things I have to do here is I have to utilize my structure and resources against that in a way. I observe these things. And again, I point those things about Connor here because the manuscript tells me, what is my opponent? I have to size them up. I have to know myself here. And that's a big part about what makes Fiore's work make a lot of sense. You don't just do the technique that you want to do out there. You do the technique that fits the situation, kind of a thing. At least that's my take. Digressing to the point. Let's talk about something right here, because again, this cover he describes as being very strong, very robust, and is able to stop the dagger. One thing I have a hypothesis here is because another cover that he shows, which we're not there yet, but it's Second Master Dagger, is he says is specifically good for dealing with when you are in armor. Well, it makes a lot of sense. Like we talked about before about posture structure. So this is the longest I am with posta frontale. This is the longest I am with posta longa, based upon my foot alignment and everything else. If he just makes the shape, if I walk into this and I decide to go like this, upward into this, he's longer. If he presses his arm, he's just touching my neck. This is already touching my neck. So again, do I want to, with fabric on my arms, right? Do I want to just say, I'm going to go up here and have the potential haphazard action of, he comes up, slide, oh, I slid, and I just literally slid down his arm and got hit in the throat. I don't think that's what Fiore is saying. For the second master, again, that's not second master, that's talking about this covering right here, utilizing Tutta Porta di Ferro doubled. For second master, we're utilizing Tutta Porta di Ferro crossed, which in case right here looks like this. And again, you can already tell that's really close, right? I want to keep this dagger as far away from me as possible. So why do we see this in the first master daggers? Again, I think what's happening right here is Fiore's pointing out that we are continuing the situation. Again, these plays are not like, okay, he comes in with a shot, I win, right? That's not what happens right here. It's not about rolling the dice and trying to win it all. It's not button mashing to try to get success. It's what do you have in this moment that you have to deal with. So what I think right here is this is the same kind of situation here. If you think about the second covering mechanism, he comes in with a shot. So when I came right here and I grab the arm, and this might be somebody here who's bigger on me or whatever the case may be, but it also might be someone that's trying to retract their arm. And as they retract, I grab the arm and I don't let them. Why might I be going to this? Because I'm dealing with the exact opposite. I'm dealing with somebody that's like, nice cover, I'm still coming for you. And I have to double embrace up and to cause certain things. So again, this cover comes in here, I take this shot here, and he's pressing in. So I can sit here and let this guy hit me if I want. Or, as he's pressing in right here, I take my hand, I shoot right here. Now I have this, and I create the opening and the space. I don't have to linger here. I don't have to linger here at all. In fact, the reality is, if he keeps pressing against me right here, nothing's going to happen with this. Of course, that's not the fight. Next action might be the groin, might be the eyes, something along the lines to get him to take away his mind off of this into something else, okay? So again, covering mechanism right here. First shot comes in, I cover, I grab right here. He's strong, he's coming against me right here. I grab my other hand here, I reinforce it. Off of this reinforcement, because I've cleared and pushed this over, if I let go now, I now have pushed myself into the dominant position so I can go to other plays necessary as seen within the text. This is just a buffering and reinforcement tool, in my opinion. It's not that we go up there and just do this. It's that we are setting this up here, the person's stronger than us, and I have to set this thing up to create the different type of options. So again, for this purpose here, shot comes in, covers comes out, I come on to the side right here, and again, I've covered, and I've grabbed his wrist. He's stronger than me. He's pushing against here. I grab my wrist, reinforce it, and now we see the wisdom of Fiore's text. I can't use a dagger right now, can I? So in order to get a dagger, I have to get myself into a position so I can pull that dagger out, strike him, or something else. Or being in this spot right here, now I give myself access to something else. One last time, shot comes in, cover off the line right here, grab this right here, he starts pushing into me, I push him over, I trace the hand down, and I'm right into that play, and I break his arm, okay? Or I put it into his eyes, something. But the point being is, it's a bolstering tool, not an end state that we're just trying to drive to. It's a continuation of defense, okay? So that being the case here, we're going to talk about how we deal with this. And we kind of talked about this in one of the other sessions out there, but we're going to be talking about specifically here why, in some cases, some forms right here, again, why we have continuations of things. At the end of the day, there's only so much that you're really going to be messing around with here when it comes to different people, okay? And the manuscript does not tell us what type of people we should be doing this against. Again, I think that's something right there that the maestro would have done one-on-one with his patron. I don't think he would discuss that in open right here. Again, if he's a military man, which I believe that he was, and what evidence we do have of him is it points to that right there. He's probably a person that also understands that the written form is dangerous in the hands of wrong people. Not to mention, he says, make sure this doesn't fall in the hands of the peasants, right? So if this book falls out of the hands of some nobleman, right? Now information's, you get what I'm getting with this right here. Intelligence is a big part of it all. So just understand what you have right here. You get part of it, but you get the other part of it while I'm teaching you, kind of a thing. We're going to swap sides here real fast. And we're going to go into the next phase of this right here, which is again about countering this. So in this case here, I've got the dagger. So in this case right here, I've shot forward with this right here. Connor he's made a cover, but maybe he goofed it. It's not good enough. And now I'm coming in, and now immediately my whole back and spine, everything just went up this way. It was a very easy counter, and it's the same kind of counter that you're going to see when it comes down to second master. It's just push the elbow, and now you have it right here. It's the same kind of concept also when it talks about within the sword. If you cover with the revezzo, and this leg is forward, you throw the body weight of the person over. And before you ever learn in the sword, you learn it in dagger first. So again, shot comes in, he comes right here, I'm still pressing, he grabs up this way. His pressure and focus is going over. I can literally feel myself being pushed over my right shoulder. So as he's pushing at me, I push him. And now I have access to his back in some form or fashion. If he doesn't want to go, again, one thing also we want to make sure about this. So again, if you're trying this stuff at home or if people are here, please, people, be cautious. Because right now I am pushing Connor. What is actually happening right here? I'm trying to break his arm. Not his arm, but the person that would be my assailant. Or in this case, the person that's trying to stop me from assailing them. Whatever, tomato, tomato. So I pop in right here, he comes up. This is not me just going, hey, let me push you over here. This is me going, wham, as hard as I can. I want to break this arm so that if he does get it, so say if here, I just push him, but he decides to wrap out of it somehow, right? So he decides to get down with this right here. Now I'm in a trouble position. I want to avoid that. So what I'm really doing right here is I'm going to turn everything into my body right here as hard as I can. He's doing a good job of being a good uke about bending the arm to simulate the break. So if his arm is straight, please don't. I'm going to push upwards. I'm going to push upwards and off right here as hard as I can to break that arm. And I'm having his own grab right here be the other locking mechanism point. So slam, break, and then stabbing. Continue with the stabbing here. Again, this is why I say you have to understand what when Fiore says to no effective strikes. I think we in a modern time think of that as pugilism or boxing, right? So I got to hit really hard on this one spot. And the fact is, for some of these techniques, you do have to strike very effectively and very hard on certain things. But the other part about it is there are some parts of the body you don't have to hit that hard to get certain desired effects to happen with it all. Like the eyes, the side of the neck. If anyone's ever seen this, and I know there's plenty of videos out there, it's like my whole argument about the inner arm where you see those guys are like, yeah, see, nothing's happening, you can't break my grip here. The guy's flexing, the person's already in a state of firm, okay? And I get it. Their message, I think, is much more about having earnest training. And I'm not here to take away from that. Not at all. So please, if they're watching this, that's not my point. But to tell somebody that striking here is pointless is taking away somebody's repertoire right off the bat. We were talking about a knife that's coming in. That means these muscles are tensed, but they're not that tense. Because in order for my arm to do this, it has to be some form of loose. As I get close, then I squeeze into the target. Okay? So as this thing is loose right here, and it comes out, and give me a good one. Like, no, give it a good one. Mm-hmm. That stings. These are all, inside there, are all the musculature and tendons that make the holding of the wrist happen. And again, I'm not saying that we should say, yes, it's just going to stop right there. Again, for the simulation that we're doing right here, him effectively coming in with that, that's a lot. And that points to what the message here is also very about this. So I come up and I see him coming for it. I might flex a little bit ahead of time, right? Because it already sucks to get struck there. I've had students who say, hey, listen, I got to stop because so many strikes right here, they're like, I can't hold on to a dagger anymore. And that's just doing this right here. And that's wearing padded gloves. So keep that in mind about this right here. We're not talking about all the guys that are out there at the gym and everything else that are doing this. Some of them probably were, but that's not necessarily the case. So popping in here, I come into this right here. As soon as I see him coming up, I squeeze into him. This is a lot easier for me to maintain my structure. And any type of strike to the inner arm, it still stings, but it's not as nearly effective as if my arm is loose and light. And because that's the case here, he is now coming into a wall, right? So he's coming into a wall with one hand, and that's what happens right here. You can already see right there, as soon as I saw him come up, he should, just by doing the process, just to make basic cover, he should easily be able to come offline here. But again, why is that not the case? I think as I see him, I was like, oh God, he's aware. And now I work into that. It's just a continuation of that. So again, very easy. I think the exiles say this, so kudos to them on this right here. I love what they say. It's like, there's an elbow, push it. I mean, that's a huge portion of what happens with a lot of this right here. And I really think that that's a really good piece about this right here that speaks to this, but other parts of the training. But again, that's going to conclude this portion right here in regards to this cover. Again, this is something that would have been done earlier on, but I wanted to make sure I had somebody here to be able to do this. It's a little bit more long and drawn out because it's not just put my hands up here and make something happen. I might have two things. And for what it's worth, the second master might be the same way, or it may be this outright because of what the circumstances are. But regardless, that's our interpretation of this cover here.
So you can see with the video there that, once again, some of the logic of, I'm not just going to go out there with this hand. This is not second master dagger where you have the spot to catch in the middle. You're just reinforcing it. A couple of things, I'm just looking at the camera here. If I punch this upwards into someone's forearm, that's a great way to break a lot of your fingers too. Is this the thing that's right here or not? I don't know. But to me, it makes a lot of logical sense. I don't think I'm just moving to that cover. I think it's reinforcing it. And as you can tell out there, it makes a lot of really good sense if the person is stronger than me, because I may have lost that first cover. And just like we see with the first image where the guy's foot's on the inside, right? Where we have the guy, so he's made the cover, but his foot's actually on the inside. From my practice, it is stronger to have your foot on the outside against the person rather than having it on the inside. If I'm doing this right here, I'm using only my upper back. But again, that points to me that Fiore understands that situationally, you're going to have to adjust. And you're going to have to strike the person to work to that position. How is the foot this right here? I know there's lots of talk about well, the foot says this right here, the eye says right here, there's a pinky in this position. Fights are ugly. And I think that in many ways right here, there's certain logics that make sense and there's certain logics that don't. And that in a limited time, again, we have to forgive what's been available to this. And perhaps also understand that, again, like I said before, this is a lineage of training that you would have been having training with from somebody else or expecting it to be passed to you, right? So keep that in mind there with this. You can see with that, like the Tutta Porta di Ferro doubled. In the description it says, and from this position, I can't use my dagger. So for a long time, that kind of vexed me because I was like, wait a minute here, can't I just grab it the other way here? And then when I saw it in the text where he's like this, I see why you can't use the dagger in this. Because in this case right here, I've made that cover and I'm reinforcing my arm across. I can't grab my dagger this way. And if I grab my dagger, what am I grabbing onto here? What happens if I push this to my hand? And by the way, these are rondelles. So now I have two discs like grating my arm like it's along where those things are at. There's a lot of factors here. Well, you can put your hand up and punch like this right here. Do you hear what we're saying with this? Just put the hands here where it's soft. And then once I create this, then I can go with it. There's a lot of talk about the 5 guards of Dagger, and I don't think they're actual guards. I don't. I think that they're just talking about here, we're in a waiting position, because you're not going to be, because again, what position are you in? When someone's coming at you, like, oh God, well, oh God. It's talking about someone coming at you and that your hands are going to make these different types of shapes. It's really simple and easy with that. Countering it, I remember talking about this in class when I was second master, and then how we push the elbow. I don't think it's pushing the elbow. As I've demonstrated there, it is pressing. When, I think he even says pressa specifically in the counter for this. I don't have the book right in front of me right now. But pressa to me is not just pushing it. It is, I'm going to snap my arm, my hand right in that elbow. I'm going to hyperextend it. I'm going to break it. Now we're starting to see the connection point about 5 and 5. When I say the 5 things you do against a dagger and how someone doing this right here against you may be doing the 5 things against you as well. If the dagger is taken away, I therefore must have to strike you, bind you, break you to be able to hit you again. Different kind of concepts there. Just some considerations for people to think about out there. But anyway, with that being the case, this is going to wrap up that video here. If you've enjoyed this content, please leave a like and leave a comment below. And I'd love to hear what people are thinking about this. Is this something that you are teaching to come out this way? Is there a part that I'm missing here? Is there something that perhaps is found in another manuscript? I don't know. All I know right here is that this is what it seems to me, and I've given the logic as far as why I think that we're reinforcing and not just coming up this way. This is a triangle, which allows you to give access to you, whereas this is not. When we talk about second master dagger, if you talk about the countering mechanism out there, does anyone have any thoughts about this? Is there anything else that people are seeing with this? What are thoughts out there? Please share. I'm interested. I'm hungry. I want to hear what people have to say. Love it all. If you're new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. Share with a friend. Hit the bell so you have that notification when more of the content's dropped out there. Again, my personal goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers and to be able to continue to expand these thoughts out there and to really take a look at this historical martial art and appreciate for what it is in its period of time. And it can't be done without viewers like you, and I really appreciate you all who have been here and who are still continuing to support me through this adventure. And with that being the case here, everybody, as always, until I see you next time, stay safe, train well, and fight on. I will see you all soon.